and I stayed home on the farm. I was going to farm it for a living, so I was there until I was drafted in October of '54, and I served my 2 years, and then I went back to the farm, and I've been on the farm ever since. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you. What were you doing before you entered the service?
Farming it.
Okay. Thank you. Sorry, I just have to go through questions. Which branch of the military did you serve?
Military Reserve.
Which branch of the military did you serve?
Oh, in the Army.
Yeah.
In the Army, yeah.
Did you enlist or were you drafted?
Pardon?
Did you enlist or were you drafted?
I was drafted.
Okay. What happened when you departed for training camp and during the early years of training?
I'm down to Fort Knox, New Jersey, or Fort Knox, Kentucky.
Yep.
And put in my 8 weeks of basic there. And then I went right to Wallington, New Jersey, and they gave me my next series of training in a radar outfit there. And I stayed there the full time I was in them, because we were on a gun sight, a 90-millimeter gun sight to protect New York City is what it was for. And the only time I left there, I guess, was when we went out to tip of Long Island to shoot the guns at the targets that they trailed behind the planes that went across all over the ocean. And then we were back to the base, and that's where I ended up my full time in the 2 years that I was in. I never left New York City then. Yeah. Outside I'd come home once in a while.
Okay. Do you recall any of your instructors, and if you do, what were they like?
Any other what?
Any instructors, and if you do, what were they kind of like?
No, none special that I would give you any special name to. No.
Okay.
No.
If you received any specialized training, what was it for?
The only training I got was on site as a radar mechanic when I went from running a computer to working on the mechanic end of that. But it was all done on site at that time. Yeah.
Okay. How did you adapt to military life, including the physical regimen, barracks, food, and social life?
Okay. I did all right. Of course, I was only on from Buffalo to New York City. I mean, I got home once in a while for a weekend or something like that. But I knew I had 2 years to put in, and I put it in. I did it the best way I knew how. Yeah. That's as much as I could say. I didn't intend to stay in, of course. I intended to get home back on the farm, and that's what I did. Where
did you serve?
Where?
Yes.
In New York City, or Wallington, New Jersey. Is that what you meant?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What were your day-to-day type of duties?
Well, we had to run steering the guns, when they'd run through their routine of how they were going to shoot and so forth like that. And that was a common thing, and we would run our radar to track the different units that were supposed to be tracked as they moved through the area. And that was basically it, except for our personal maintenance and around the base.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What kind of friendships and camaraderie did you find while serving, and with whom?
Very good. Most of my buddies and friends, the ones that lived with us and worked there, they came from different areas of the country, of course. I had a couple of special ones that I came in from Texas. They were there when I got there, and they left a couple months before me. I kept in contact with them over the years and went to visit them and so forth afterwards. Yeah, that was basically it. As far as the cadre and stuff, it was do what the boss said.
How did you stay in touch with family and friends back home?
How did I what?
Stay in touch with family and friends back home.
Mostly by letter writing. I didn't get on the phone much then. We didn't have nothing nothing like cell phones and that. No one was in contact. But usually it was a letter home once a week to my girlfriend or mom or dad or somebody like that.
What did you do for recreation or when you were off duty?
Oh, we play soccer and stuff like that around the field, and I think we used a lot of our chemicals that shouldn't have been used to make the lines on our soccer field and things like that, but it was available, and a lot of times we'd line the field with DDT or something like that, so you knew where your marks were. That shouldn't have been done probably, but
no, probably not.
But at that time, to us it didn't matter. But other than that, I was pretty close to base most of the time. I got to church on Sunday mornings and had a couple of friends that went there regularly. But we didn't really do much out in the town around in the area at all. I can't remember if I went to something on down Staten Island. Maybe I did. Just for a tour, but it was always pretty close to the base.
When you no longer had to serve, where did you go?
When I don't follow your question as far as
when you got out of the service.
Oh, when I got out.
Yeah.
Oh, it was back to Lancaster, New York, and back on the farm. It was right back to work.
I understand.
I wasn't going to get rich sitting down there. I figured at $98 a month or whatever it was I was making.
Yeah.
So.
How did you return home?
By train.
By train?
Yeah.
Okay. How were you received by your family and community?
They were ready to have me come home. Yeah, very well. Yeah.
How did you readjust to civilian life?
I thought very easily. It was no big hassle for me. I knew when I went in, when I was going to get out, and it worked out that way. And when I was discharged, I just got on that train and I headed home, and I was ready to do what I was going to do. Yeah, it was just that simple.
Have you remained in contact or reunited with any fellow veterans? If so, do you have any names?
Yeah, I got two in Texas. Joseph Dalton, Hamilton, Texas. And Robinson was another one that I had. He was in Lubbock, Texas. Those we keep in touch with. But outside of that, I think they're about the only two that were on base with me that I keep in touch with. We used to visit them after I was out. We raised our family, and the kids were starting to grow up. Well, we went out there and visited with them. But that was basically the two main ones.
Are you a member of any veterans organizations? If so, which ones?
I'm not a member of any veterans organization. No, I haven't gotten involved in it. No.
Okay. What have you done since you've separated with the military? What have you done since you've separated with the military?
Made my living farming. I still farm it, but not quite as fast. I work with my son now. He kind of runs the show. But, hey, when you got the best life in the world, you stay with it.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Right?
Yeah.
That's what I keep telling my grandkids, too. I'm hoping I can keep some of them trained to stay with it.
Hopefully. How did your wartime experiences affect your life?
I felt it was an obligation I had to my country, and I did what I had to do. But other than that, I was ready to come home whenever my hitch was done. Yeah.
What are some life lessons that you learned from serving in the military?
Some what today?
Life lessons that you learned from serving in the military.
Repeat that.
I'm sorry. What are some life lessons that you learned?
Life lessons that I've learned?
Yes.
I think if you treat everybody straight on, fair, and they get to realize that, you got everything going for you. And I carried that right on through, and I'm sure Sure, I had guys that would bunk next to me that would lift something out of somebody else's foot locker or steal or so forth, but basically the guys that you learn who to trust and who to live with, and you make a lot of good friends that you wouldn't otherwise realize, I suppose, if you didn't go have a time like this in your life. Yeah.
How has your military service impacted your feelings about war and the military in general?
I just feel it's a necessary part. We have to be strong and have to fill that obligation. And if it's my turn to do it, I'm the guy that's there to got to do it. Well, I'll do it and go on from there. As far as getting in to be an officer or make my life, I wouldn't. I was a farmer, and I was going to be one, and I felt I had my opportunities all there. But other than that, it was a case of doing my duty for my country. Doing what I was asked to do.
What message would you like to leave with further generations who hear this interview?
Live an honest, God-fearing life that treats everybody fairly and just need to see through me what life is all about. I think that would be putting it as plain as I could put it. I think. And that I don't care whether I'd be in the military service or where I'd be, it'd try to come out the same way. Once people know that your word is good and you're honest and fair, you'll do all right. They'll be there. But if it's somebody that trying to take advantage of me, he won't go very far.
Is there anything that you feel like we haven't discussed or we should discuss during this interview?
No, I don't think so. I think we've got it pretty much in a nutshell how I feel. Yeah.
Okay. I do have a personal question that I was just kind of curious about, because I have a friend that's in the service, and usually when we talk, the main thing that he complains about is the food. I was just curious what your opinion on that was.
I had no problem with food. Of course, I was one that would eat anything that came down through, and I never had a problem with eating. Never complain about food too much. Didn't get KP too many times, but you had to help for your end there when it was basic and stuff like that. But it really was not. I thought it was good. I thought it was good basic eating. Yeah.
Okay. That is all the questions that we have, unless you have anything further.
Good.